Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining this Commsverse session. I'd like to welcome you to policy call recording for Microsoft Teams with presenters Matt Landis and Clayton Martin with Landis Technologies. Now, Clayton, I'll turn it over to you to start.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. And yes, we'll start on here. Glad to have everybody here. We're going to be going through a few different of our products, especially the title there was about the call recording. We'll be showing how that fits into the contact center that we're creating, and yeah, show you what we have on that as well. So a few things about Landis Technologies in case some of you do not know who we are or aren't familiar with us. I don't know who always on the call here. So we've been in business for 25 years approximately, and in the Microsoft space from the beginning. In the Microsoft Unified Communications space, maybe from back in the OCS days, BPOS, really Link 2010, Link 2013 started working there. And then one of the things that really got us involved on a global scale was in the Link 2013 days, we designed and published a attendant console that was really needed, really took off, and we have thousands of customers around the world that are using that. And so that's really where we start. And then there's other apps we built for Skype for Business, and now of course Teams as well. We've, like I alluded to, have a long partnership with Microsoft, working closely with their teams as they set new products up and stuff like that. Also, especially from the Attendant Pro and other apps that we've done around the world, we have over 300 partners now that are selling and supporting our software, as well as customers in, I think it's now 60 some countries, in 6 continents. If you know anybody at all that wants anything in Antarctica, we would love to add that as a 7. We'll sell them something cheap there, just to get that 7 continents. And of course, like I alluded to before, Microsoft Gold partners in multiple ways there. So as we design our products, there's a few principles that we look to, and from the beginning, from back in the Link days until now, the different apps we design, there's a few principles that we have there. And Matt, maybe you want to speak to these principles a little bit and kind of go through this slide.
Yeah, so what are the Landis Contact Center? What is our vision for the contact center? So we're really thinking a Microsoft Teams first contact center, and that includes the call recording and all the features we bring into it. So, and our vision really is to make something that's simple and fast to buy, set up, and use. So we just want it to be straightforward to get going. That's been what people know of us related to our attendant console, and that's really what we want to bring in the contact center, call recording, call flow builder kind of place with Microsoft Teams. Recently, we had a customer that said, I think that was the fastest contact center I ever set up, and that's really what we're aiming for. And because of that, we are really dedicated to making a Teams powered solution as opposed to a connected Teams solution. We don't want you to have to set up direct routing to use our solution. We want our solution to be built directly on the Teams platform via the native communication APIs. So a real native solution. Another thing that we really, when we design this thing, we want it to be familiar. It looks and feels just like Microsoft Teams and Microsoft 365. If you're familiar with Teams already, administrating and using it, you should really be familiar using Landis Contact Center, and whether that's the call recording or any of our pieces. And really powerful. So all the features that people need, we're really asking. We've really made sure we know what customers want and are trying to bring those kind of things. Live wall boards, reporting, recording, analytics, and also open. We think that if this contact center is sitting in your Office 365, your Teams environment, and you should be able to connect to those other Microsoft products like Microsoft Power Automate, Power Apps, and BI. And we have connection points to that to make it really work well with them. And finally, we want this to be a trusted solution. It's built right on the Teams platform and using Azure, and it really just works. So that's what our vision is for the contact center and all the pieces inside it, whether it's the call recording that we'll be kind of calling out in this presentation, or the call flow builder, attendant console, or the routing and queuing. So that's our vision. Go ahead.
Thanks for throwing that out there. And just to kind of give you an overview of the different apps. Now we're obviously going to get to the call recording piece, but we have, you'll see all these slides are branded as contact center, because contact center is sort of the overarching thing that involves all of these things, but there's 4 different use cases here. So one is a full contact center with all the call routing and all the queues and everything that a contact center needs, reports and stuff like that. Then there's some people that just need the IVR designer part, call flow designer. We'll talk about that just a little bit as well. And then, of course, the policy call recording. There's a lot of people that don't need the reporting, don't need the queues, but just want to have some kind of recording. And we'll show you the different options of what's available in recording and what we can do with that. And also the attendant console, which is, as it notes there, waiting on Microsoft for some APIs yet. And near the end of the session here, we'll be talking more about where those APIs are, both the communication APIs and what we see coming for that, for the contact center, and where the policy recording things are at, as well as attendant console stuff there. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go along. Here's different features of our overall picture, the contact center, including the recording, that is broken down by the person. So the customer can have their stuff announced and whatever the list there is. The agent has what the tools they need. The manager has the tools they need, and the administrator has the tools they need to really make a easy, simple to buy, set up, and use. Simple to get all the utilization you need out of it. So first of all, I'm going to go a little bit through the contact center, the day in the life of an agent. So what does an agent do? And that gets into part of what that agent does is recording. So first of all, go to the Teams store and get to the App Store and get the contact center app and turn that on, sign in with Microsoft, and you have your contact center, your dashboard, whatever you have set up to see, whatever you have rights to see, and we'll get into the policies of who can see what later. But log in, you see your dashboard, and you can have, so if you notice up here, the Open Agent Panel button, when you open that agent panel, you can have that so that it stays within Teams. So it's in your Teams Chrome, or popped out so it stays as a separate window that's always on top. So you don't lose it. Depends what else you're doing in Teams. Just depends what the agent, how the agent works. We give both options. And the agent, say he's sitting down in the morning, he pops out his window and he goes in and turns on which queues he wants to be part of, and says that he's available. And then a call comes in. It notifies him that yes, you have a call. He says yes, he wants to get it. So it sends it to Teams, and he can answer it with his headset or clicking the button, whatever. And you'll notice here it is ringing for this agent, and we have CRM information popping up. And so even before it rings, I mean, before you answer it, you can already see who it is and maybe what case they're doing, or who they should be working with. I mean, what you're going to be working with there. So then, of course, you pick up the call and you have the ability to edit this. What we're showing here is dynamic CRM. It can be Salesforce or a lot of different things there. And through Power Automate, you can connect with any database that you have there. So you can do your work in your CRM, talk to the customer. Once you're done with it, you hang up, and then this is a wrap-up question set. If you have that turned on this queue, you just answer the wrap-up questions, totally customizable to whatever you want them to be set up as. And this agent will stay in a wrap-up status. So if somebody looks, yeah, he's in wrap-up until they click finish, and then they're ready to take the next call. Here we'll talk a little bit about the call recording piece from the agent standpoint. So the policy call recording you can have set to always record, or you can set a certain person never to record. In this case, we're in a call that in an agent status where they have the option to record or not to record. You can set up so that the agent can turn it on or off, and so then they have a button here that says yes, I want it, no, I don't, to record. And if you're just doing recording, not part of not contact center, we have this small agent that you can have for the recording. Notice a few things. If you have a policy that you need to be recorded, it will automatically take care of the notification for you and saying this call is recorded for the legal aspect of it. You do not have to have an agent installed. If all you're doing is recording every call, that's fine. It just takes care of it. If you want the ability to control it, then you have this little app that can turn it on and off. Now this agent, in the day of life of an agent, we're back to him being ready to take calls from 4 different queues and ready to receive the next call that comes in. Here we're looking at a call that this agent just took and listening to the recording. So the recordings are then stored in our tenant or in our service in Azure, and you can, through these reports, go back and listen to them if you have the rights to listen to them. In this case, this agent has the permissions to listen to his own recordings. He can also see the sentiment of that call, and we'll talk about sentiment a little bit more later, but that's just one place where it shows up, and of course see all the details. Can also log in and see his this agent's abandoned calls, anything like that he needs to see. So a little bit of an overview of the agent themselves. They log in, they take care of their work. All the information they need is right there as they need it, and the recording just happens according to the policy you have set. Managers, what's their day going to look like? So they log in the morning, write in Teams, they get their dashboard, and they can see what their agents are doing, how many calls have been coming in, who's doing the best, stuff like that. And they can see all the live calls. So this report we're looking at is live calls. We see 2 of them that are actually live and 1 that is ringing, or 2 that are actually connected, 1 that's ringing, and can see all the details, pop that down and see what's happening in that call. So here, for instance, this manager can monitor this call just at a glance and say, this call seems to be going good. They can see the text, the speech to text, putting each phrase up there, so can quickly click through different agents and see how they're doing, see if there's anybody that needs help, and if there is somebody that needs help, they can barge in and join that call. So rather than having to sit in and listen to a call completely and focused on one agent, the manager can see how multiple calls are going and jump in where they're needed with the barge in feature. Here, let me see if I can get this little video to play. This is just showing that a manager can log somebody else into a queue if they need to. So they're going to sign 2 people into or sign one person into this queue that either forgot to sign in, or they see that this one queue has a lot of calls in, and they just go say, hey, we need 3 more people in here, sign them in, and they'll start taking calls from that queue. So the manager has the ability to sign people into the queue. Here's just all calls for the whatever given time period you look at. You can see a list of all the calls, get more details on them. If you have permissions to see the to listen to the recordings, you can do that. If you have permissions to see the sentiment, you can do that. And so the manager can just log in, listen to stuff, and see how the calls have been going for a certain agent, for instance. Of course, they're talking about the sentiment. Abandoned calls, can look up what the abandoned calls, what the length of time, and kind of get a sense of what's happening. You know, some of these real low, they probably just realized they're in the wrong queue or something. Someone that's been waiting 4 minutes, you got a problem that maybe they got tired of waiting and hung up. So you can just see a little bit what's going on with your abandoned calls. And of course, agent summary, you got to see who's doing what, how many calls they're taking, who's not pulling their share, and who's saying they're logged in all day but only took 2 calls, stuff like that. Look up the wrap-up answers, and these are totally customizable to whatever set of questions you want, and then it just tallies the answers and shows you a little bit what the answers are broken down as there. Call queue by hour. This is an example that you can look at a certain time period and say, when did we have peak calls? Say last year, July 4th weekend, what type of call volume did we have at what hours? So you can set up your staffing to match what is needed there. And of course, a wallboard that you can either have set up on your PC, or in fact in a wallboard if you have a traditional call center where people can see who's keeping up, and they can kind of self-motivate by seeing that. So that's some of what a manager might see, and now we're going to go to administrator. So administrator, you sign in with your Microsoft account. You name your organization. So this is just coming to our website saying this is what I want it to be called. You know, call center 123. Yes, I know I'm not a robot, and yes, this has permissions to work with Office 365 tenant. And then you have your contact center service set up, ready to go. Part of that simple and easy is just how fast it is to set up. And so now you have the contact center ready to go, and now you have to add a few things in. So obviously you have to say which users are part of it, just which users in your environment, you just go add them in. And if they have certain roles and skills, and set each thing up there that you need, and then set up queues. You make a resource account, point it to a queue or an IVR, whatever you're doing there. And I'll show you a few screenshots of how that works, and then set up any reports that you need, or set up the columns the way you want to see those reports. And we're talking a few hours, an afternoon, and you have a contact center set up, not weeks or lots of hours of configuration and stuff coming through here. So for instance, setting up a user, here's just this one screen. You name, what's the name, what they're going to be part of, and what rights they have. And in a few minutes, you got things set up there. Another example is creating a new queue, set it up, name it, a few details, and then of course there you have to add any recordings that you want and stuff like that. But again, very simple, just steps you right through. And notice as I'm clicking through these slides, how much things just look like, in this case, the Office 365 administration portal, and how things just match in with Teams and Office 365 everywhere that we go. The buttons look the same, the colors are the same, everything you see is something that's familiar. So your managers and your end users and your administrators it'll be easy to know what to do, because it's familiar processes to what they're using. So here we're just setting up a call queue and adding in the agents that should be part of that queue. And then one of the important things is, here's a good example of balancing our very powerful with our very simple. So to keep it simple, we have basic roles. This is an agent, this is a manager, or this is an admin. And that gives you basic permissions, what we would expect that they would want. But you can totally customize that by setting up, for instance, organizational units so one manager can see everything in North America and nothing in Europe, or a mix of some things in Europe but more in. You can go very granular, and each person can have the rights to the unit they need to see and not to the ones they don't, as you want to build that out. If you don't, to keep it easy to set up, you just say this is a manager. We give them a set of permissions that is typical for a manager. So IVR Flow Builder, or IVR or Call Flow Builder, I'm going to bump this over to Matt. Can you give us a little bit of details on how this works and talk us through that?
Yeah, sure. So the IVR or Call Flow Builder is a newer piece of our contact center that is we're expecting shortly, and we're going to go over those timeframes in a little bit. But it allows you to build call flows for Microsoft Teams using the built-in Microsoft Teams calling backbone. So once again, you're seeing the app inside Microsoft Teams, very straightforward to get in there and add a new IVR. And then if you just want to move to the next slide there, Wendell. And so what is the IVR Call Flow Designer? So you could kind of think of it as a more powerful version of Teams Auto Attendant. You know, some of the features are that you can create really sophisticated IVR call flow and call routing functionality without knowing how to program. Just normal users should be able to do this. And it has blocks that you just put together how you want, and you can do really sophisticated things. We internally, we say if it was a Microsoft product, they'd probably call it Power IVR or something like that. So yeah, the ability to create really sophisticated and complex call flows just by putting blocks together. So next slide there. So a bunch of the blocks that we already have, incoming call, or ones you would expect, incoming call, get the call information, play an audio prompt, listen for DTMF, transfer a user, run Microsoft Power Automate or some other web service, end call. And of course, we're going to continue to add more as customers ask for things to build solutions. And next slide. So we're going to give it some examples just to give you an idea of what things can do. So the self-service balance inquiry, that's a common one where you want customers to be able to call in and get some information about their account. So what blocks would we use to do that? We have the incoming call block to get it started, the data dip, which lets you send, let's say, the phone number to Power Automate. Power Automate uses its data sources to go out and get information from your line of business app or CRM, and then sends that balance back. And then we use the text to speech, so it can say out the balance, what it is, and then end the call. So
and I did not join with audio, I don't think, so this is going to be
not going to be able to
through. Not coming through.
That's fine. It's probably playing to Lori or something. But so basically what this would have said, we have Mary from California. She calls in and it picks up and says it recognizes her phone number, and it sends her phone number to Power Automate, which gets from the line of business app and then says back, your balance is so-and-so, thank you, and goodbye. So it really makes it straightforward. Then we could do the same thing with John. He does the same thing and really just demonstrated that, it calls and then gets his balance instead. And really, it doesn't need to take that long to do this. Just really straightforward, a couple minutes to put the blocks together, and you have something. Of course, this one is very simple. Then the next one could be a data dip routing scenario. We actually had a customer that called and said what they would like is when a caller calls in, that it checks who their salesman is and just automatically transfers to them. So how could you put the pieces together to do that? Well, incoming call, and you do a data dip once again, and this time instead of getting the balance information, you might get something like the salesman's Teams contact information. And then instead of saying anything, you just transfer to that salesman and they're done. So you can do really different, more sophisticated call flow routing using these blocks and just putting them together. All right. And so Mary, we're just going to give another example than John, but that's good. And we can go to the next slide. So what can you do? You know, what we demonstrated here, the audio, we didn't hear the audio, but just simple call flows to illustrate, it'll give you some ideas of what you can do. Your call flows can have many more steps than the ones we talked about, but just giving you an idea. And of course, you can have call context, like the caller number or caller name, to create things and be a part of this. And you can simply create these flows you need without programming inside a UI that looks like Teams. At the moment, we can do all of this, and as we go forward, we're looking to enhance our drag and drop to create these call flows. All right.
Okay.
And we did have a question. We did have a question, and maybe I'll just answer it as we go here. Question was, can we create custom access policies for users? A super agent on the top of classifications you already have in place. And I'd be fine taking up, make sure we're understanding what he's saying there. But yes, you can have users that have the ability to, you know, be able to see everything. And Wendell had talked about policies where the access control is based on our pre-built administrator, manager, and agent, I think. But you can build your own and have the access control precisely what you want. So I think I'd be fine talking a little more with the person that asked that question, but I don't think that should be any problem to, you know, create your own access policies and access control rules.
An example that we often run into speaking to that is an agent that is sort of a senior agent, not a manager, but has been there a long time and often does the training. So you can create a super agent category, and then they might have the ability to listen to recordings and the ability to barge in to calls that are on their team. But they might not have all the other, you know, they might have some other things missing from their ability or just narrowed down to their team. So, but yeah. So any other questions that we should address at this point?
That looks good. Yep. Go ahead. Take it away.
So easy connections. We talked about this a little bit before, but you can work with Power Apps to get it connected to any kind of databases that you want. Using Power Automate for the reporting. You can do Power BI to get the reports. If we have the reports that a lot of contact centers need, but if you want to present it in a different way or get a different set of comparisons than we have, you can build it in Power BI. So the connection, we expose the data so that you can work with it how you want to work with it. If you need to. So, and one of the things is this was originally, and there was a mix-up on some titles there. That was my fault on calling this totally on-call recording. But we do want to spend a little time. Any questions you have on call recording as we get to the end here, we especially want to raise those, even though we're going through multiple different of our products here. But anything, especially questions on call recording, we'd want to hear from that. So here's the architecture, how the whole system is set up. Call comes in from internal or external, hits the bot, and the signaling gets done to do what it needs to do. Play the hold music, play some kind of alert or prompt, send it to the right agent or the destination there. But this is all keeping this call inside of Teams. So we're not routing it outside to some other system with a SIP tie or direct route or something. It's staying inside of Teams. So we're using Microsoft's Power to keep that everything working smoothly there and just doing the signaling into that Teams bot. Then, of course, the data goes into the contact center, and the recording file goes into the contact center service so that we can do our reports and get our, listen to our recordings and all that type of thing from your web portal, from your Teams. But the call itself, the audio itself, stays within Teams. And then this recording, so the recording gets sent over to the contact center service to be stored for a certain amount of time. But there's certain data sovereignty laws, and there's certain retention times that require it to be stored in your storage. So we can connect this. Notice this is a separate block because we can connect this to your own Azure Blob storage and still have all the permissions, still have all the reporting, still have all the things on these recordings, but it is now stored in your Azure Blob storage for any kind of requirements that you might have on that. For now, we have United States. We have our global redundant fabric, or whatever they call it, the system set up in the North American region. We are also knowing for sure that we're going to be doing Europe, possibly Germany, Switzerland area, and Australia. Both of those we already have people that are requesting that, so that'll be moving out quickly. And then as needed, other regions will be started by request, and especially this helps with data sovereignty laws that some countries have to have the data at rest within the borders, and of course we're going to work with that as we expand across different countries. Where we're at currently, we have a Microsoft Teams App Store. We're in the App Store, and I'll give you a link in a little bit to that. We're in progress on a few other certifications, and of course we're working closely with Microsoft to be one of the early participants in the Teams certification process there. So here is the big question on a lot of these things are built on APIs. And Matt, I think I'm going to turn that back over to you if you're there yet to kind of talk about where we're at on all that stuff.
Yeah, so the question is when, and we keep in regular communication with Microsoft, and based on their very recent communications to us, we're going to go over what we plan to deliver. And this is based on what Microsoft is communicating at the moment on what they can deliver in relation to the communication APIs. And of course, the policy call recording is GA, it's production, and that's available today. So that was the first piece of many components that we made that went production GA version 1 and available to use in your production environments. And the next pieces that we see coming out is our IVR Call Flow Builder, and that's in preview right now. You can already use it. You can go get the app, go to bit.ly, or you can go onto the Microsoft Teams App Store. We already have our contact center app on there, and utilize the IVR Call Flow Builder. It's in preview, and the reason for that is one of the components that we use in that is not GA from Microsoft. And from what Microsoft is communicating to us, we expect that we can roll this into GA in Q3 of 2020. In other words, the quarter that we are currently in. So that's once again, that's based on what Microsoft's telling us. The other thing that, of course, people are wondering about is the call queuing and the agent related things. And that one also, we think we can get our V1 based on what Microsoft's communicating in Q3 as well. And we expect after that, Q4, we'll be adding additional things. So there'll be some additional pieces. And I realize I did not move the attendant console quite right there, but we see the attendant console, a native attendant console. Once again, all of the items that we're talking about, this is not direct route connected. We're really focused. Our vision is having this built on Microsoft Teams, on the Microsoft Teams service, and that not dependent on a direct route connection to another service. So we expect the attendant console to be after that sometime. So Q4 or beyond. So when we already have policy call recording right now, we expect the call flow builder and the call queuing to be in Q3 that we can start getting something out to you. And then after that, some additional communication APIs will be coming out. We can add more things and make some things a little smoother. So that's the answer to the roadmap of ahead. What's ahead? And back to you, Wendell.
Okay, and that is the last slide here. So there, at the top, there is a survey for feedback and a breakout session for questions later that I'll be in for a little while. If anybody wants to have a individual chat over there. Down here at the bottom, you can see the the place to get the contact center app, just put that in, or like Matt said, just go to Teams and search for Landis Contact Center. And with that, we'll open it up for questions. If there's any, throw them into the chat, and we'll address them from there. So looks like we have a few minutes left for questions.
Yeah, so they're not going to, people won't be talking live because this is a live event, but there was that one question that we had, and I think we took care of it. And if there's any more, we'd be very glad to answer them. Maybe one thing that I would say related to the experience around call recording, policy call recording, one of the things that we have noticed is, or that we've gotten feedback on, is that when call recording starts, so when a call recording starts, currently the Microsoft APIs that do the call recording, they will announce that this call is being recorded or processed for text to speech or something like that. And that's something we've reported back to Microsoft, but it is a function of the compliance recording APIs at the moment. But it is one of the things that we kind of let customers know that it does do that. So it does let you know that calls are audibly, that calls are in there. But other than that, I think we can wrap it up, and you're welcome to talk to us in the channel in the Commsverse Teams organization.
Yep. Okay, if there's no other questions, let's wrap it up.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Clayton. Matt put the link to the post session in there. If you'd like to join them, it is in the Q&A as well as the survey. So if you wouldn't mind taking a minute to complete that, we'd sure appreciate it. And have a great rest of your day. See you at the next session.
Thanks.
Yep.